Hi everyone. Thank you for having me at Meet Taipei. So my first time in Meet Taipei, obviously my second time ever in Taipei, but feels really good to be here. Just before I begin, sorry I don't speak Mandarin, so bear with me. I'll be speaking in English today. But what I can tell you is I'll be talking about a lot of exciting stuff that I think will resonate with everybody out here tonight, because I'm sure you've heard of the messenger service called LINE, right? So that's what I'll be addressing today. So really excited to share that with you. That said, again, before I begin, I just want to talk about how surprised I was at how robust and vibrant the Web3 community was in Taipei. I would have to say, out of all the Asian regions that I've visited, and I've visited pretty much every Asian region out there, but I have to say the Taiwanese Web3 community has to be one of the most mature, most robust Web3 communities out there. But yeah, without further ado, so GM, my name is John Cho. I am the VP of Marketing at the Kaia Foundation. I've been working in crypto and blockchain for about 6 years, since 2018. Before that, I was involved in data and platform at LG. Before that, I was involved in energy. So yeah, thank you for being with me here today. So before I get into what we're actually doing, before I get into our initiatives with LINE Messenger and Kakao Talk, I wanted to kind of like set the scene a little bit for you. So just taking a step back to talk about a few like macro landscape changes that I've been noticing. So I'm sure you're all experts out there. You're all subject matter experts. You're in the startup scene. You're in the Web3 scene. So you've noticed this change happening, especially over the last few years, and I would say especially post-COVID. There's definitely been a shift in consumer behavior. Now, if you've been working in digital marketing or working in like the startup scene for a very long time, I'm sure you've noticed this kind of like transition. Back in early 2000s, when the dot-com boom was like happening, a lot of the media consumption was conducted via mass media. So like marketing and advertising also was normally conducted through like mass marketing media channels. But as we approached the 2010s and 2020s with the advent of social media, there was this hyper-personalization or hyper-targeting that was happening. Because targeting was considered the more optimal and efficient way of getting like user acquisitions. But recently, post-COVID, there's definitely been a shift in terms of effectiveness of marketing touchpoints and user acquisition touchpoints. There's been a lot more focus on community, and community meaning, for example, solving for influence, like influencers, communities revolved around influencers. So there's definitely been a shift around from hyper-targeting to a more like broader, like community-oriented targeting. So to kind of expand on this concept, back in the early 2000s, mid-90s, I think, from a marketing and a brand perspective, it was very important to provide consumers with a reason to believe. So that was because a lot of the marketing was focused on like showcasing, like, e-commerce touchpoints back then were like Amazon and eBay. So you had to give them a reason to believe. But with the advent of social media, brands now had to give consumers a reason to share. They had to give them like an aspect of the product that they would be happy to share on the social media with. With Gen Z and post-COVID, we've noticed that there's this trend where now you have to provide your users and consumers with a reason to play. You have to give them something to play with. They're no longer just happy to they're no longer satisfied with just engaging with brands on social media, no longer satisfied with just like leaving comments and so on. They now want to engage and interact with brands. So this has been like a massive shift that we've noticed over the last couple of years. So with this confluence, this perfect storm of user behavior, also more regulatory clarity in the Web3 space, improving industry sentiment. I mean, obviously, with the recent elections in the US, there's been a massive regulatory shift and also industry shift in terms of sentiment for crypto and Web3. And taking advantage of this timing to have that first mover advantage, it's been this like confluence of perfect kind of really positive aspects that have really pushed entities like LINE and Kakao to really deep dive into the Web3 sector. So I probably don't really need to tell you about these two companies. I'm assuming you guys are already very much well aware, but I come actually from the Kakao side. So when I first started working in crypto and blockchain 6 years ago, I was actually a part of the Kakao organization working for their Web3 subsidiaries. On the other side, of course, we have LINE Messenger. LINE Messenger is the dominant messenger service in Taiwan, Japan, Thailand. Also, it's very big in Indonesia. So, I mean, you're all Taiwanese out there, so I'm sure you use and interact with the LINE Messenger every day. So no need to really, talk about how massive these presences are. Now, if you look at Kakao and LINE, basically the users on Kakao and LINE represent 80% of all digital consumption and spending in Asia. That is minus China and WeChat. So if you take WeChat and China out of the equation and just look at the user pool and based on Kakao and LINE, they represent 80% of all digital consumption in Asia. And these users, there's a big difference with these users as well. They spend a lot of money. So obviously Japan is number one in terms of digital spending, followed by Korea, but Taiwan is up there as well in terms of digital spending. So not only do we cover 80% of the actual area of the number of users, but also in terms of spending, we consider our users high value users. So what are we now going to do with LINE and Kakao? Because we have this massive user pool and so on. Before I dive into that initiative, I want to talk a bit about Kaia Foundation. So I, like I said, am the VP of Marketing at the Kaia Foundation. And the Kaia Foundation is a non-profit organization that operates and maintains the Kaia chain. Now, we have a very interesting story. We're very different from your typical Web3 startup or layer 1 or layer 2 in the fact that we were established by existing corporate entities. So Kaia is basically a combination of Kakao and LINE. So to provide some little context, Kakao back in 2019 actually launched a layer 1 called Clayton. I don't know if some of you guys are familiar with Clayton, but that was actually originally part of the Clayton team. And also in 2018, LINE launched their own blockchain called Finchia. Now, earlier this year, we uploaded a governance proposal to the community, basically proposing a merger of Finchia and Clayton to form a new super app chain. And obviously, the merger proposal passed with flying colors, with no objections, and that's how the Kaia chain was formed. Basically, we are now in a position to basically place ourselves as Asia's super app chain because, like I said, LINE and Kakao cover 80% of all digital consumption in Asia. So that's just a little background about Kaia. Now, what are we doing with Kaia? So what are we doing with LINE and Kakao? What are we going to do to leverage this relationship we have with Kakao and LINE? Our mission is very clear. It's very clear. What we want to do is, there are right now a combined 250 MAU. So not registered users. If you consider registered users, there are over 1 billion registered users. But if you just look at MAU, there are 250, it's a combined 250 million MAU for both Kakao and LINE. What we want to do is we want to bring these two MAU to Web3, to the Kaia ecosystem. And to do this, we are going to leverage every aspect of the super app infrastructure that Kakao and LINE has. So be it fiat payment rails, be it discovery advertising touchpoints, data. There are 3 key perspectives that we'll be leveraging the super app infrastructure. So obviously, what I talked about, how the super app infrastructure, just looking at Taiwan, I believe LINE has even a bank in Taiwan, LINE Bank. You use LINE for managing your points, use LINE for payment and so on. So we'll be leveraging the super app infrastructure like I've mentioned. Also, distribution is a very important part of go-to-market, right? So in Web3 recently, there's been a lot of focus on distribution. For example, the Ton blockchain has been leveraging Telegram as a distribution channel. But distribution isn't just itself is not enough by itself. You need to be an acquisition-driven distribution strategy. So our focus is very much not just on distribution, but also on user acquisition. And of course, to combine this with the high throughput EVM tech stack of Kaia. But so there's a ton of cool stuff we really want to do with LINE and Kakao. But the problem with Web3 at the moment is that the UX just sucks. I mean, I'm sorry, but this is the truth. The UX is it's complicated. The ultimate goal here is to onboard your grandmother, your grandfather to Web3, but they can't not do that right now with the current UX. So this was one of the biggest bottlenecks that we wanted to basically overcome with our relationship with LINE and Kakao. So Kakao and LINE have actually been doing a lot of experimentation and implementations of Web3 services over the last 6 years. And we already have a few pick and shovel products that are live at the moment within the Super App infrastructure. So to give you a few examples, like for example, in the Kakao Talk wallet, there is actually a native crypto wallet that is embedded into Kakao Talk. Now, what does this actually mean for the user? From a user perspective, well, basically, it gives you a more streamlined UX UI. You don't need to worry about your private keys. You don't need to worry about your seed phrase. You don't need to worry about copy-pasting wallet addresses. Just basically pick your friend from your friend list, and boom, you can send them crypto. And on the LINE side as well, they've been experimenting with pick and shovel Web3 products, and the focus has very much been on making sure that UX UI is very seamless with the existing LINE Messenger environment. And to highlight one example, not many people are actually aware of this, but LINE actually has their own crypto exchange in Japan called BitMax, not to be confused with BitMEX. So this BitMax crypto exchange is only available to Japanese users in Japan. But basically the goal here was this. This is a crypto exchange that is natively integrated into LINE Messenger. I cannot think of any other crypto exchange in the world that has been natively integrated into a messenger interface. So basically, you click on LINE, you go to your apps tab, you click on BitMax, and boom, you have your exchange UX UI seamlessly loaded within the LINE Messenger environment. So that fiat to crypto on and off ramp experience, and also crypto to crypto trading experience is very seamless, very easy. So it's these learnings that kind of gave us a lot of insights on how we could differentiate ourselves from existing Web3 infrastructure, and also differentiate ourselves from existing, quote-unquote mini app platforms and protocols. So yes, the mini app narrative is out there already with Ton and Telegram and also other infrastructures. But today, I would like to show you, I think probably the first time in public, our version and our interpretation and our kind of take on the mini dApp infrastructure. So we call this LINE mini dApp infrastructure, and this will be coming live globally to all LINE Messenger users very soon. So if you bear with me, here's a quick video that will give you an understanding and visualizes the UX UI experience. Yeah, so I get goosebumps every time I see that video. That was basically a visual representation of the UX UI that you can expect from the LINE mini dApps that we'll be launching. So this infrastructure will be launching not in Q4, unfortunately, but in January. So very soon, in literally a month or two, all LINE messages globally will have access to this mini dApp infrastructure and the mini dApps. Now, the access point for this will be a dApp portal that we'll be creating, because we understand it's not just about providing that UX UI, you also need to provide that effective and optimized discovery touchpoint. So discovery functionality and effective discovery features were very important for us. So we worked with the LINE Next team to build our own dApp portal. So the great thing about this, and the one thing that I'm really thankful to the LINE Corporation is this. WeChat has had a mini app infrastructure and mini app ecosystem for a few years now, for about 3-4 years. LINE Messenger does not have a mini app infrastructure or ecosystem yet. But this is actually LINE's first attempt at creating and offering a mini app experience for LINE users, and they're doing it with Web3 dApps. So that's why we're so thankful and excited. But as you can see, the discovery functionality and features will be very seamlessly integrated into the UX UI. It's going to be a very easy to, easy and familiar experience. So the hope here is that your grandmother and your grandfather will also access this to, access the mini dApps. And all of this will be accessed through LINE's official OA within the LINE Messenger ecosystem. And as you can see, we have like wallets embedded and also token swap functionality. Now, all of this very seamless UX UI is made possible because we've actually built out our own proprietary SDK. This was built in cooperation with LINE and LINE Next, and is being exclusively being built on top of Kaia chain. So we have the wallet SDK, the API, and the mini app SDK itself. Now, currently, the access to the SDK and API is whitelisted. So you have to actually apply to our onboarding program to have access to this SDK and API. And the reason why we're doing this is because we wanted to quality control the dApps that are being launched on day one. But we're really excited. So we only launched the Kaia Wave program literally just like a little over like a month and a half ago, but we already have 700 teams that have applied. So that's 700 mini dApps that will be launching online. Now, day one in January, we'll be launching a hand-picked batch of tier 1 projects. So maybe 20 to 30 mini dApps will be launched around January, 3rd week of January, 4th week of January. And then the rest of the 700 will be eventually launched over the coming months. So that was a very quick overview of what we intend to do with LINE, overview of the LINE mini dApp infrastructure. And I guess you can kind of see why we're so confident and why we're so excited about this, because I do believe that we're really differentiated, not just purely from just like the scale of the ecosystem, but because we're so much focused on onboarding those billions of like mainstream users, like your grandmother and your grandfather. But there's one thing I also want to kind of like highlight as well. So as Kaia Chain, we've been able to build this amazing relationship with LINE and LINE Next. I don't know if you're aware, but LINE Next is LINE's fully owned Web3 subsidiary. And they are very much focused on building Web3 products. So in addition to the mini dApp infrastructure that we're building with LINE, LINE Next will also be exclusively building Web3 products and services on Kaia Chain. So this is an exclusive relationship. So as you can see, because LINE Next has so much experience in consumer dApps, it's not your typical carbon copy like tap to earn kind of thing. Basically, like for example, we have an AI-based social app coming up. We have Sega IP that will be converted into a Web3 game. And I think most exciting, and especially like people who are like well-versed in the LINE ecosystem, will be leveraging LINE Friends IP to create games on Kaia Chain as well. So yeah, just wanted to take the opportunity to highlight our relationship, Kaia's relationship with LINE, and why we're so excited about not just, again, the LINE mini dApp infrastructure, but Kaia ecosystem as a whole. So to wrap up, Kaia, I think, can be considered a familiar gateway to Web3 because we want that UX UI to be familiar. We don't want there to be a learning curve. And that is our goal, and I think we're well on our way to achieving that goal at the moment. So just wanted to leave you guys with a video. So thank you very much, and I hope you guys have a good time. All right, thank you, everyone.